morning, Professor Vivek Tiwari, sir. First of all, I introduce our principal, sir, Dr. Ravichandran, who motivate us at every situation, especially while we are doing any innovative ideas to that. So,
Yeah.
so I introduce our principal, sir.
Hi,
You can.
Ravichandran sir. Good morning.
Sir, good morning, sir. Okay.
So Vivek sir, actually from the cyber security field, sir, actually sir has been started the a company known as an Audix Technology, and he has been Audix
Audit
Technology,
technology, right?
yeah. And Professor Vivek
Nice
sir
to know,
having a
sir. Nice to
yes sir, yeah.
It's my pleasure as well, sir.
Morning. Good to see
welcome,
you
sir.
again.
Nice to see you again, sir.
And Vivek, all the
It's
best
our pleasure,
wishes for
sir.
the session today.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Sir, shall we start, sir?
Yeah,
Yes, Dr. Jyotish. Sir.
Okay.
Great.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, like a very hearty good morning to everyone present here. And also, like, I would love to seek the blessings of all the elders as well as the professors who are present here. Because for me, even though I've started a startup, I'm an entrepreneur, but always it's like a learning that we have every on day-to-day basis in the industry. And like us being associated with professors or teachers have is like it's there since my childhood. Even my father is a vice principal with a college. My grandfather was also he retired as a principal with the central government. So basically like teachers or professors have been always a point of inspiration for me. And just to say that Sureshan sir has been a mentor for our organization from the day we started. So it's now my startup is now almost 3 years old, and wherever we have reached in past 3 years, Sureshan has a huge contribution to our growth. So Sureshan sir, thanks a lot for being there in our life in our journey.
Actually, Suresh sir has been contributed for the soil of Tiruvannamalai. So,
Oh,
on behalf of the institution and as well as the Department of Computer Science Engineering, all of you welcome for this wonderful gathering for the faculty development program on recent advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science Engineering, I welcome you all for this wonderful gathering. So, first of all, I thanks to Dr. Suresh A. Sean, chairman of NCSE Mumbai chapter, who has been as an industry expert and as an advisor for our institution at every situation. Sir has been taken more initiatives. And regarding this particular program, I make my personal thanks that he has been identified the right persons at the right time for the right institution. Actually, thank you, sir, for your wonderful support regarding this program. Actually, and I also welcome our young and dynamic person, Professor Vivek Tiwari, CEO of an Audix Technology, who has been specialized in artificial intelligence as well as cyber security related activities. And also, we reviewed your forum, sir, that you got an different awards from the cyber security, and in what way you have started this company, the Audix Technology, and what are the hurdles that you face it, and how you came back from the hurdles, and how the projects you identify. All the forums, when I read it, really admired you that your backup related to in what way you have been come to this particular areas and respectively to this particular activity. So I thanks all the participants as well as the senior faculties, HODs to be joined in this gathering of the faculty development program. So now I welcome our principal sir to validate the gathering. Please, sir.
Very good morning to one and all present here. To this faculty development faculty development program on recent artificial intelligence and machine learning. Engineering is situated in Tiruvannamalai and north state. So it is it has been devoted and nurturing the faculty not only in our college and also working in other colleges. In instance, we have come to organize this development program to during this period with the benefits of the faculty. So have a few announcements. Many from across areas, this provides institutions. So, to us, in the faculty development program, we have our guest of honor, Dr. Suresh Eswan. I welcome Dr. Suresh Eswan, Chairman of Computer Society of India, Mumbai chapter. I welcome Mr. Vivek Diwali, CEO of Robotics Technologies, Mumbai, also to this program. We friends in Dr. and Mr. Div. So I was mentioning about Dr. Suresh Vivek Tiwari said, mentor for Audix technology. Not only for Audix technologies, Dr. Suresh has been mentor to Aruna Engineering College also.
Wow.
We are delighted, happy in welcoming Dr. Suresh, who is guiding us in not only for Computer Society of India and also for the Department of College Administration, many things. I heard through Dr. Sujodish said that Mr. Vivek Diwari is pioneer in artificial intelligence and cyber security. So we have chosen the right people for this particular faculty development program. I request all the faculty members from across various institutions to utilize the speakers and use this platform for your own growth as well, for your institutional growth, and contribute more to the society. So thank you, one and all present here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful gathering over here and given information related to the guest. Actually, now I request our Dr. Suresh to make few words related to the program. Please, sir.
Sir, you're on mute, I suppose.
Hello.
Yes, sir. It is audible now, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Respected people in dais and honorable principal and the HODs and the faculties and dear students. First of all, special thanks to Vivek Tiwari, who took his time to address the gathering in terms of artificial intelligence. He is not just a deployer, he is into the kind of beneficiary, and he is into the kind of suggestions which has made more success for his life and for his company and for the customers. So he is the right opt for the example set from artificial intelligence and machine learning. Getting into the topic, this artificial intelligence is not just a technology or a tool. It's going to be the mind sharing in terms of all relevant insights, which is gathering and empowering the especially corporates, where they can address the three different dimensions. One is like how to improvise the market business and understanding the dynamics of the market, and especially when it comes to customer service, how they can try to position themselves and trying to create customer centric solutions which can go closer to the customers, where they can do as much as the kind of R&D, especially when it comes to customer, or they can understand the behavior and business benefits, which turns more in terms of creating the connect and creating the earn to pay model, where the customer can get best out of it and the company can continue to yield the kind of expectation set part of it. The third one is what, like the culture of the organization, how they can build and how they can try to take it up, and how they can leverage the kind of expectation set part of the artificial intelligence. I would want to just set the tone in terms of setting an example how artificial intelligence try to build given the kind of development which we do currently during COVID and post-COVID, the expectation set, the kind of the digital transformation has moved as much as towards the customer digital, where the current was more focusing on the corporate digital. So when you talk about customer digital, what are all the things which revolves, and what are all the things which talks more about the customer, was now getting into the digital and getting as much as transformation starts from the customer, starts from the customer related, his personal details, start from the kind of purpose of his survival and expectations, set part of the financial services, or set part of the kind of business what is trying to get engaged, and what are all the other areas which is available part of it. All those areas now started getting captured part of it. In specific, if you see the kind of storytelling, especially the customer stories, customer getting into the kind of success stories, all those things are coming part of the information which is part of storytelling now, which is available and developed as much as which was created by the students, and the kind of startups which comes part of the entrepreneurs who has set the tone, where currently the kind of storytelling is getting digitalized and trying to bring it out. And especially when it comes to the kind of market, when you're trying to do dynamics and trying to understand from the student's angle, you can try to bring out as much as the kind of your personal expectations set part of the technology, or your stories you want to become a kind of expert, and currently the kind of education what you learn, and the kind of education which you are expecting to get boost, so that you can come out in your life, or you can come out or establish a kind of concern which will try to address the future requirements part of your concerns. So if you see, for example, when you try to do as much as part of the customers, now we are now moving slightly into a specific area in terms of visual graphics and visual in terms of modulation, which comes part of the customer, where we are trying to understand, or we are trying to even go more closer to get engaged with the customers. If you see as a student, which are all the areas which is available part of the current solution, or which is available part of the expected solution which will get engaged from the customers, all those areas now getting as much as beyond privacy, which adds as much as connect to the customers and trying to engage with the customers in terms of his belief and the behaviors. And states like especially Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Maharashtra kind of places, where the kind of language, the kind of the cultural values part of your the motion of information which is transformed for more than 100 years or more than 150 years, getting digital transformed and getting connected to the people for the reference. Recent times, if you see during COVID, people are able to get still engaged using the kind of mobile phones, or even IoT, whichever is available, or even affordable part of the digital transformation. We found as much as people who are all engaged and who are all ready to do business, they are able to get it, they are able to do that, and they are able to leave a footprint which is emerging and trying to support artificial intelligence and trying to bring as much as talking about a customer. Suppose if you are going very closer to the customer in terms of identifying the needs, today if you can see, like it starts from your day to day in terms of even people sitting at home trying to extract the kind of details which is talking about the culture value, even the food system, or you are trying to leverage the kind of business which you are expecting part of it, or if you are trying to transform understand about the people, starts from again from the financial world, it expands into the health, and it's moving towards the medical and trying to get as much as closer towards the education now, which is getting transformed digitally more, which is coming part of artificial intelligence. If you want to narrate some example which talks about even astrological message, nowadays we can see as much as on a daily message what all things can be explored part of the astrological message. If you go closer in terms of identifying the customers, today we can use that simple language to connect across the states and trying to build as much as part of the multilingual systems which enables similar types which emerges into the different languages and helping us to go closer to understand languages. And again today we can see, like we have some tools like Kunto and other things allows you to learn the languages, that is again creating you to understand multiple things and trying to diversify your thoughts into multiple languages, which gives you a clear cut comfort in terms of how you can understand the different cultures, different values part of it. I will just take one example where when we studied about Northeast to bring out how we can do financial systems, during the discussion and study closer to them, we found especially when it comes to women empowerment. Northeast, especially if you go closer to Assam, Nagaland, those areas, women got empowerment, the business and other areas come part of them. And male is just used as one of the person which is part of that system, but nobody is engaged with the finance system, or even financial assets are not named in the name of a male, or they won't have even the family assets or the commercial or even the shops names are not put of the male. So when it comes to a financial part, when you are trying to do a guarantor or a nominee, we no need to mention a male name, which will be not so what you say dependent, and we are not able to get that exactly what it goes on. So sounding that it looks very simple talking about how to understand the cultural values, but if you write that queries, if you want to put the validations part of the program, if you want to understand the deeper pockets and trying to create that value system, then this kind of artificial intelligence builds you more in terms of understanding about the customer, proactively go close to them, proactively try to address the business norms, trying to get that as much as to trying to do it out. And the kind of future now, so far you take from the cloud world also, we are having only a hybrid cloud which will talk about a public or private. Now we are moving towards something called community cloud. So when you talk about community cloud, which is nothing but customers will peep in, dealers, brokers, agents will peep in, the kind of market today is getting diversified. For example, in good olden days, a dealer of Mahindra will do only Mahindra vehicle. A dealer of Maruti will do a selling of only Maruti vehicle. Now the COVID has put as much as enormous problems and concerns. Now the dealerships are taken any requirement, any request from the customer, they would want to sell it. Even a four-wheeler dealer, if they want to sell two-wheelers today, they are doing it. Even a dealer who wants to fund in terms of getting into a resale, they are trying to do it. So the kind of transformation which is getting into the business, the kind of expectation set part of the market, you should have some systems which can cater to that, and corporate should be focusing more on trying to get value out of it. So artificial intelligence is not just a tool. It's not going to be just serving as technology. It's going to even set the culture and value system, even the business propositions, even the digital transformation in terms of new products are going to emerge part of it. So understand that, and as a student trying to focus, trying to create some diversified information, and as faculties try to focus as much as on the artificial intelligence and machine language, will give you enormous projections and enormous the kind of expectation which is set part of the customers. So hopefully the artificial intelligence is going to be more in terms of future, which talks about it, because when we talk more part of India, when we talk more about information which comes part of it, which will have more clarification in terms of every individual state has a legacy, every individual state has more to do with the language, every state district wise has more to do with the localized information. So try to bring that differentiation in terms of information that will give you more delight, and customer will also be happy and the corporates also will be happy. And as an individual, you can get into new areas, new entrants, which will build your career into multiplied information, which gives you more comfort in terms of creating more job opportunities, and we can play multi roles in terms of information. So learn for it. These 2 days you can have good scope in terms of artificial intelligence information. Even tomorrow the speaker who is going to talk will have much about how things are getting diversified in terms of globally artificial intelligence is getting appreciated, and the kind of details which is now getting into the system, which is going to glorify the kind of expectation set part of it. So I wish you all have 2 days good session and trying to explore as much as best systems on that. And I would request Mr. Jyotish to even give some preference like last time. Whom sir is asking the best question, whom sir is creating something else as an entrepreneur to create something else for artificial intelligence, will surely appreciate. Give them some motivational certificates, and if the gifts whatever which we are trying to understand and appreciate part of the system, we try to give it's trying to create an open system for you all as part of students and the faculties who can contribute to the kind of expectation set part of it. All the best for you all, and have a nice time, and come out with the expectation set part of artificial intelligence and machine language.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable talk related to the digital transformation, how the artificial intelligence can be adapted to the digital transformation, and especially in this pandemic situation. So, as you said, that definitely we will motivate the faculties, those who have been taking some kind of challenging questions or any other related issues to the pandemics, if they have been given, definitely we will give some kind of motivational certificates as well as a certificate of an appreciation will be given to this as per your advice. Now presently I will welcome Professor Vivek Tiwari to take over the session related to the recent advancements in advanced in the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Suresh Answer. It was really great hearing you about your vast industrial experience on artificial intelligence, and actually, you have been a pioneer in implementing those technologies in Mahindra Finance, and I'm lucky to have been watched you implement those at Mahindra since long time. I think more than 20 years now. So before moving ahead, I'll just share my screen and. So, like basically the concept of this session was, I'll be talking more on the work front or more on the use cases that we have been working in the industry on the using artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay. And also giving you some glimpse of how this actually works. Okay. And I've tried to make it as simple as possible considering the students available, and less technical, because technical is something which I leave it to the professors and they're much better at that side. What I'm looking at is giving you a practical approach, or how we identify whether a particular thing can be, whether a particular solution can be, whether artificial intelligence can be used for to simplify a particular problem statement, whether it's in your in life, or whether it's related to a particular organization or any other agenda. So before moving ahead on the practical use cases or on using artificial intelligence and ML, I would just like to brief you about my organization, about my work experience. So basically, before starting Audix, I was working with the banking sector for around 7 years. So I started my journey. I was engineering Mumbai University. I started my journey as a with the SDFC Bank in 2011. So having spent around 7 years. So before we started Audix in around October 2018. So we have spent around 7.5 years with the banking industry in Mumbai, whether it's HDFC, Kotak, RBL, and you name a private bank. We had an option to work with all these banks, and we started in 2018 when I started Audix. So the core idea was to start. We started earlier with quality assurance, and then I was meeting. Just I'll take a small time to introduce how I met Suresh Answer and how he has motivated me to grow from being a small means an individual company to a company or a startup of 25 people that we are as of now. Okay, so I belong to a very middle class background. My father is a teacher, my grandfather was a teacher. So this is basically just for the student perspective, so students can get a learning on how. So because generally what happens is students being a student, there's always a question that to have your own startup, you need a lot of money, you need a lot of effort, you need a lot of connects. But I would like to clear all those points today. So when I started, so being from a middle class here, so general tendency of a middle class parent is the child should have an good job. He should be comfortably placed with a good salary, and that was the same tendency was with my parents. But what happened is there is always a passion within you that at some point of time you want to do something out of your own, and means bring out some innovation which is already there. The passion has to be is present inside you, and you have to just you want an opportunity, or you have to create opportunity to bring it out in life. Okay, so what happened is 2018, after working for around 7.5 years, I was like, there were some innovations in my mind which was going on, which I proposed to my existing organization for whom I was working, but they disapproved, saying that no, Vik, this is not practical. Why don't you just leave that aside and focus on what we are assigning you? So that was a point where it triggered me to leave the job and start my own organization where I can actually work on innovation side. And when I left, so I never informed my parents that I've left an organization, I started my own startup, because I knew if I informed them, there would be a huge pressure on me, from the parents side, on both the financial front and as well as the family pressure, that basically the social pressure that we talk about. So that was the point. So I never informed my parents that I have left and started on my own. And initial 6 7 months was like hell, where all my savings that I had done through during my job period was actually spent and was actually spent for the team, and still there was zero business on at our end during that period. Like one day I was one of my salesperson was continuously trying to approach Suresh Answer for giving us a meeting at Mahindra Finance. So I think we had, when we started in October 2018, the first connect that my salesperson had with Suresh Answer was in, I think Suresh Answer was in around November, a month later, but we never got a meeting appointment from him considering his busy schedule. Finally, he gave us a schedule after around 3 months of following up with him, and we got a session of around 30 minutes for a slot of 30 minutes. And I traveled to Mahindra Finance to meet Suresh sir. And I don't know what happened. I just proposed him, sir, will you be my mentor? Because what happened is the way he was talking, it was not a interaction that generally happens between a company and between a vendor and a startup company and any industry CIO or something. So, or a customer basically. So it was more like he was guiding us through that 30-minute session, and it clicked. And I asked him, sir, will you be my mentor? So he said he was very happy on that side, but he said, Vik, there are two conditions. One is I want to understand what is your long-term goals, okay, and so he said, like, it was a very small things that we talked about. Like it was to have a small company with this much turnover XYZ. So this was the my answer to him. Then he said, Vik, I'll be joining you if you have a long-term goals. And the long-term goal he defined was, one was, Vivek, keep a target of 1,000 crore, which was like a big figure for me. 1,000 crore. I had never imagined that figure. Second was, he wanted me to get, he thought, asked me that you have to focus on your organization, keeping in mind that you have to get this company publicly listed after some period of time. So these are the 2 points that Suresh sir had put in front of me, that if you're looking at that and that long term, then I'm ready to support you at no cost. So that was the biggest thing. So basically, those 2 points was a turning point for me, because that gave me a long term vision. Obviously, the long term vision has to be split into multiple short term vision, but the long term vision that was given to me by Dr. Sureshan has actually helped me to grow at a very rapid pace in past 2.5 years. And second thing is, as he said, like two things. One is, don't keep a small target, keep a long target for a longer period of time. And second was getting the publicly company listed publicly. These 2 points were never in my mind when I started my organization, because that time we were just two people who started, and we were approaching bigger organizations like Mahindra Finance, Reliance, and other for giving us the projects. But nowhere we were able to crack a project for around 6 to 7 months. No, the problem there was, we were approaching customers, but usually what happens is the mindset that we have to while approaching a vendor. So when earlier we were approaching a vendor, we had a very small mindset. And that's how, when your mindsets are small, so that defines your approach toward the customer. And sometimes customer feels, yeah, even though, so customer feels whether if I give my project to this particular company, they're such a small company, and even they have the visions are not big. So whether will they able to complete the project as on the predefined timelines and other features. But after this meeting that we had with Suresh Answer, the whole perspective was changed drastically. And from there onwards, we never considered ourselves as a small startup. We approached the customer like Suresh sir played a very big role in shaping up our organization. So thanks Suresh sir for that. So Audix Technologies is a cybersecurity startup when that was started in 2018. And then here in last year, 2020, during the lockdown, we started another company called as Finio AI Labs, which is more into artificial intelligence. So these are the two startups that were started by me in past 2.5 years. And frankly speaking, this would the mentorship that we have in our organization has actually fueled our growth. So Finio AI Labs was, again, it was born out of the need. So during the lockdown, we identified a particular problem statement that that organizations were facing. Okay, so that particular problem statement was used by us, and we decided to bring to launch a security to launch a AI based company to solve those problems that the organization were facing during that particular during the first wave of COVID, when the last year, when this lockdown started and around March 21st or 22nd. So basically this Finio AI Labs was born out of this lockdown problems that were faced by the organization. So now we are handling both audits as well as AI. So audits is more focused on security, and obviously now security, cybersecurity is a domain which is actually very much has lot of applications of artificial intelligence going in the past few years, and also like in coming few years, artificial intelligence is going to play a big role for the security of any organization. So this is about the two organizations. So, and also recognized, like in past 2.5 years there were few recognitions that came to us, like DCB Bank awarded us with one of the most innovative startup for the of the year in 2018. So here what we did was we had developed some bots basically for automation of quality assurance of the products that the bank used to launch for the customer. So that product was awarded by DCB Bank, and we were awarded as one in India's most innovative startup. Then in 2020, we are awarded with CIO Choice category in a awards for cybersecurity category. We are also recognized by Banking Association for a presentation on preventing cyber financial frauds. In January 2020, again, we were really happy to we were announced as a Times Next Super 30 startup by the Times Group. Going down in 2021, when we launched Finio, so even Finio now has a recognition in terms of the awards. So the banking frontiers, we had developed a product called as Instagen. This particular product was an artificial intelligence based product. So every year they organize this kind of event, and they award top 10 products of that particular year. So Finio.ai, the second startup that I launched in 2021, that the product of ours was selected by the jury for the top 10 products category in 2022, along with the likes of companies like Infosys and IDBI. So this was actually the first product that we launched on ourselves on the artificial intelligence side. So this is more on the perspective of the awards and recognitions that we have in past 2.5 years. So like going ahead on the use cases, I would start, before going into some bit of theory, I would love to have a small presentation about one of the product that we developed, for which we were awarded this award, FCBT awards in 2020, which will give you a glimpse to the students about how we have applied artificial intelligence to solve one of the most common problems that was faced by the banks as well as the customers like us during the COVID period. Okay, any questions we can have post this video. I have a small video to share. Just I'm sharing that video. Give me a second. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically, this was one of the product that we developed during this COVID period. Okay. So what the problem here was, during COVID, after like post lockdown, what happened was the customers. Now, if I'm a customer of, if I'm an individual who wants to open an account with a particular bank, so earlier now you have to visit a bank branch, submit your documents, get it verified, and the whole process like of opening an account takes around 7 to 10 days, and then you are able to have that account, operational account accessible to yourself, right? So the idea, and post what lockdown, what happened was this the banks got closed, people, the movements were restricted, so all those restrictions came in place. So the two things was the bank were unable to connect with the new customers or the for account opening purpose. Second thing was, even as a customer, we were not able to reach a particular branch, or we're not able to go a particular branch for opening our account. Okay, so we decided to develop a particular solution to solve that problems. Okay, so I'll take you through this. So here, what we did is we used the mobile phones as a mode of communication, which can be used by the bank as well as the customer like us to open an account in a particular bank. Okay. So the whole idea was to reduce the time that is taken by a particular for opening an account from around 10 days to within 3 minutes. So that was the actual idea. And from bringing it to a physical meeting between like we have to instead of you physically visiting a branch to open account, you can use the online medium to open an account. Okay. So here what we did is, so we developed two applications. One was a mobile based application which can be used by us as a customer who wants to open an account, and second was a web based application which was used by the bank employees to have an access to the customer during the interaction or during the account opening process. So what we did is, initially what happens is there is a call that happens between the customer and the bank agent. Okay, and it's a two-way video call that happens. So here, if you can see, there are two screens that is visible to you. One is a customer. So this mobile screen is a customer screen. So customer is calling that particular bank through through his mobile. And on the other side, this particular laptop screen that you can see is something which is being accessed by a bank agent. Okay. Now, what we did is, this after this call happens, so now the customer and the bank person both are on a live call with each other. Now, as per the compliance, so basically before you have an account, open an account with a particular bank, RBI, Reserve Bank of India, has a set of guidelines that needs to be followed. Okay, like because there are, if you're using an online medium for opening an account, there can be a lot of fake data that can be provided by the customer to the bank, and that can lead to a lot of bigger problems. So the product that we developed had to actually solve or those concerns from the compliance side as well as the security angle. So going forward, now what happens is, during this video call, the bank agent asks a lot of questions, to ask few questions to the customer, and customer has to answer, and the whole session is being recorded. Okay, now the first thing here, what happens is, customer, the bank agent asks few questions, security questions, to determine whether the particular customer who is here to open an account is live or not. Okay, so this first, if you can see on the side of the screen on the banker side, so it says security checks to determine liveliness. Here I am checking the liveliness of a particular customer, whether that customer is actually live or it is his morphed video that is being played. Okay, so here what we do is, we asked a random question based on based on the profile that was shared to the bank of this particular customer. So it's a random question like, what is your mother's maiden name? So expected answer is placed in the system, and the customer answers the right question. And if the question he answers the particular question, now if the answer is given by the customer is right, the bank agent just clicks it as pass or fail. Okay, so if both the question and answers are pass, so agent has to just select the pass and he moves ahead. Now this way, what we this happened here was, we verified that the customer is live. There is no fake customer who is there in the behind in the video. Okay, so we established the liveliness of the customer. Now second thing is, we wanted to check the location, whether the customer who is actually opening an account with a bank is he based out of India or he's based outside India or he's a foreigner, because RBI does not allows any RBI does not allows a customer if he's outside India to open any bank account in India. So what we did is, instead of we asking the customer to give us his location, what we did is we simply fetched his location, live location, that was using his mobile device. So there is a background noise, sir. If you can mute anybody who is there. So the location was problem was also sorted, where we were able to access the live location. Okay. Now comes the most critical part, was verifying the identity of that particular customer. Whether the customer who is like, basically when you go to open an account, there are two things that the bank generally asks from you. One is the Aadhaar card, and another is a PAN card. Okay. So here in this case, we had to have a solution where we had to establish the identity, the right identity of the customer who is on the video call. So what we did is, we asked the customer, the bank agent will ask the customer on the video call to show his Aadhaar card's photo on the both the front side as well as the back side. So now here, if you see, the customer will show us his Aadhaar card, and what we are doing is, we are capturing that photograph here. The screenshot is being captured. So we have captured the front of Aadhaar card. Similarly, we ask him to show the back side of Aadhaar card, and he shows that Aadhaar card. Now we have captured both the front and back of that Aadhaar card. Now comes the most critical part. Now the data that is present in the Aadhaar card has to be extracted, because that needs to be saved in the bank database, like his personal details of the individual, and also like the personal details of the address and other the details that are present in the Aadhaar card. So one option was, after the image is captured, the bank agent had to manually input those, look at the image and input this address, name, date of birth, and other personal details. So that was again effort, or a manual effort, that was to be taken by a bank agent. So what we did is, we decided to automate that as well. So we said, instead of the bank agent inputting up details into the system, why don't we read the data from the PAN card image that we have captured? So here we use OCR technology, which is an AI technology, to extract the data from the image that has been captured. So here, if you see my cursor, so there is an option where we said initiate Aadhaar extraction and masking. So once the data, the photograph is captured, what my system does is, it reads that particular image, and it reads the image, it reads the personal details, it reads the address, and it stores those particular details in the database separately. So once, now what the bank agent will have to simply do is, he has to simply click initiate. So if you see, he's clicking on initiate. So now post that, so basically what we have done is, we have captured the images of Aadhaar card, and also we have read the data through the system itself. There is no manual input of data required by the bank agent. Now second thing is, the bank agent asks for from the customer to show his PAN card. Okay. So similar manner, we take the screenshot of the PAN card, front as well as back. Now here comes the best thing is, so what we did is, so generally when you go to a branch, the bank agent, to open an account, what bank agent does is, he compares the image on the PAN card, the photo of you that is the present on your PAN card, with your face, whether it's both the faces are matching or not. So here, that was again a practical problem that we had to solve using a solution. So what we did is, uh, we used artificial intelligence to compare the two faces. One is the face that we had, like if you see in the previous step, we have taken the selfie of this particular customer, ask the customer to stay still and look into the camera, ensure the face is evenly lit, face screenshot. So what we did here is, we took the face screenshot like a passport size photograph of the customer, and what we do now is, we compare this particular snapshot that we have taken with the photograph that was present in the in your PAN card. So if you see in PAN card, here there is an image. Okay, so what we have done is, we have actually captured that image from here as well as NSDL database, and now we compare those face using artificial intelligence, this face as well as the face that we captured during the screenshot. And that comparison, so bank agent has to simply click on few buttons, and the other comparison, there are other activities done by the system in the backend itself. So your image face comparison one. So what we are doing here is we are comparing the face screenshot versus the PAN card screenshot. So here the agent has to just simply click initiate. So what happens is if he clicks initiate, we give a percent matching, like how much percentage of the photographs are matching, the like the image that is present in PAN, what percentage of that is matching with the selfie that we took in the system. So agent is clicking on initiate. Now next is what we did is similar to Aadhaar, we are initiating the PAN data extraction as well, where the system will read the PAN data and it will pre-feed those data into the bank system. So there is no manual input required in this case by the bank agent for opening an account. Okay, so that was done. Now next what we do is, so basically this is something very again a critical part that we're playing. We are playing a role of checking those particular data. Okay, now does the names match? So this name match and other things are also again done by the system itself. So name from the system earlier that we got from this individual while he submitted his data to us before starting the video call, he said my name is Rahul Sharma. So what we did is we extracted this my system extracted the data from PAN card, and the PAN card says that the name on his PAN card is Rahul K Sharma. Now what the system did is it matched both the thing and it gave you a match score out of 5, like out of 5 how many, what is the matching and what is not matching. So now we gave the score 5 because there was a mismatch of the word K, and now there are multiple permutation combination that we play here to match those names. Okay, because many times it happens that in PAN card you have the surname initially Sharma Rahul. So what happened was, though all those particular use the different cases that can happen, the logics for that were feed into the system initially itself. Now what my system did here is it gave a score to facilitate the decision of that bank agent whether it's matching or not. Now in this case, since the match score was 3, now the bank agent has an right or has an option to either pass or fail. But here in this case, he will again uses human intelligence as well, because since there was a mismatch, so he will try to see whether K, what does K stands for. So he can just check and he can see, yeah, K stands for his father name, so he can make it as a pass, but he can add a remark here that why he have made his part despite he has marked this particular check as pass despite there is a mismatch. Okay, because there is small mismatch. So here there is a small requirement of the human intelligence, otherwise the things are being done by the system itself. Next thing is we are matching two things again. The customer, while he was before the video call started, he had inputted some data like his PAN number. So this PAN number was given to us, to the bank, by this customer before the call started. And this data below, if you see, was something which was extracted by the PAN, was extracted through our system from the PAN image that we captured. So here what my system says is the match code is 5 because both the PAN numbers are matching. So frankly, what happened is we are matching here the two data. One is the data that was submitted by by the customer to the bank. We are matching that particular data with the image or the PAN card image that was provided to us by the customer during the video call. So we match both the data and we say yes, the data submitted by the bank, by the customer to the bank, and the PAN card, both are matching. So what we did is we matched the PAN card. So we matched three things. One was his name, his PAN number, his date of birth. Basically all the data that is present in the data in PAN card is matched with the data that is provided to us by the particular customer. Now next is, as I said earlier, we will also check whether the face match or not. So we are matching this particular face, the passport size that we captured, with the image that is placed on your PAN card. Okay, so here in this case the match score was around 4 out of 5. So generally what happens is here again there is a requirement of human intelligence, because generally sometime it happens is the PAN card, when a person applies for a PAN card, his age might be around 18, and when he's today when say when he's opening an account with a bank, his age might be say 35, 40. So there is a huge gap, age difference. So giving an exact comparison or an exact data or exact face match date comparison is bit difficult for artificial is bit difficult as of now using artificial intelligence. But still we are able to give a particular confidence score to a bank whether it is matching or not based on the other critical features. So like here, if you see this particular customer and his photo on this pan card, so there is the mustache and this beard which was present in the live video call that happened, but that was not present on the pan card. So what we did is there are multiple parameters that is fed into system while matching this when this face match happens, and based on that a score is given to this face match. Now here a human the person, the bank agent who is on video call has to again use his human intelligence to decide whether he has to pass it or not, because this is where somewhere this is where I can say still a limitation of artificial intelligence to actually detect the huge age difference. Like, for example, there are two pics. One is a photo of mine at age of 18 and photo of mine at age of say 40. So those two are still the age difference is too high to be actually matched give you 100% result using artificial intelligence. So that is that the technology for face matching is still in a very development stage, or still in a very what you can say early stage. So what we did here is matched both the data, the face of the passport size, the image that we captured along the pan card, and gave a match score. Now bank agent will decide whether they are actually matching or not, and he can pass or fail based on this particular score, and he can also add in remark. So what we did is we compared the face, we compared the pan details, we compared the Aadhaar details. Now last but not the least is when you're going on up when you go physically to open an account, the bank what bank gives you is a big form to fill the form, and you need to sign that particular form before the account is open. So what we did is we captured the signature as well through the system. So what we did is we asked the customer to sign a particular to do a signature on a blank white page and show it on the screen. Now here the customer does that thing, and we are able to capture that. Now we have captured all the details that is required for filling a form in an account opening process. Okay, now this whole details is submitted to the bank's core banking system, which is again processed, and the account number is generated. So basically this was the platform that we developed during COVID-19, and it is actually used by banks for onboarding a new customer or opening a new account with a customer. So this is one of the use case. So any questions or from your side would be I would love to answer, or else I can move ahead.
So faculties can able to ask any kind of queries related to the presentation.
At least something that if you have related to the technology that the system artificial intelligence that we have used here for customer onboarding, I would love to answer. Then sir, we can move ahead obviously on the other use cases that we have.
Vivek,
Yes sir.
you can put it in terms of timing. Earlier to fill up a form, even though if it's digital, how much time it takes, and after the solution, what is the time? No, then
Yeah,
that gives more clarity to
so
them.
basically practically speaking, all of us might have experienced that thing, even the students or the parents and faculty members or respected teachers as well, that when you go to open an account, it generally take 5 to 7 days for you to get a account number in hand. Okay, but using the system we were able to complete the whole process within 3 minutes without the customer making a physical visit to a bank for opening account. Okay, so there is no need of physical intervention between the customer and the bank to open account now using this particular solution. So
So
that was yes.
question from the chat box from the
I'll just
name Sujata Reddy. What supervised learning is used to compare the given information? Given the query like that, what supervised learning algorithm is being used?
just a second. I'll just check the chat. So basically, when the algorithms that we for comparison. So there are multiple algorithms, and it is like customized, developed by the developer in while developing. So basically, I'll tell you, there are different algorithms that we have for reading a particular PAN card. So when I was comparing those PAN card data, so we developed a different kind of algorithm, different kind of matches. Similarly, we have a different kind of different algorithms for Aadhaar card. So basically, based on the type of documents, there are different algorithms. Okay, it is not there is no standard algorithms as such for all documents. There has to be a customized development that has to be done, because if I'm using a standard algorithm for all kinds of data, that is not going to give me an accurate result. So basically, when we were working on pan data extraction, there we had to feed more than say 300 and 400 pan cards and use that particular data to train the system, or train the my system to identify or extract the data from PAN card. Similarly, when we were training the system for Aadhaar card, so there were again a multiple set of, so basically you need lot of set of data or lot of set of actual PAN cards to for training the system. And like what happens is, just developing an algorithm will not work. You have to actually train that particular system to give you the accurate answers. Okay. And so that's it from my side. So basically, we can't say that there is standard algorithm. You have the algorithms is basically case to case. So it's very specific for PAN card. So I can't apply the algorithm that I have put it for matching, for extracting data from PAN card. The same cannot be applied to Aadhaar card, or the same cannot be applied to a driving license. So basically, now going down the lane, what we are developing is, we are coming up with extractions for your driving license, extractions from other person like passport. So those two things again that we are working on. So it takes like bit of long time to train those data for giving the accurate results. Otherwise many time it happens that the results are not accurate. Okay, so it has to be a unique algorithm, set of algorithms for unique set of documents. And again, as I said, there has to be, you have to actually train the particular system, this software for on different set of or different set of PAN cards. Okay.
Sir, any age prediction is being identified over in the application actually? Because for example, when I take over the Aadhaar card as well as the ID, whatever you given, let I take it that I've been taken that ID in the age of 20, but I've been taking the bank application that I've been filling over it at the age of 30. So any age comparison is being identified by the system?
No, not still. So basically, that's when that's what I said. That age is something. The AI is still, there is a limitation on the using artificial intelligence for comparing age difference. Okay, so if I want to compare actually age difference, the machine learning that I have to do into the system, has to be huge. So you need a huge set of data. So this is still a limitation for in case of comparing age factor as actually. So
Sir,
that's still so here it's actually a combination there. So that's what we've done is a combination of artificial as well as human intelligence is required in that case. So we have given an option where we said we'll just give a confidence score. Like my algorithm will say yes, this is percent matching, and this person. So I'll give a percentage out of 100. So we are matching. So 60% is matching, 40% is not matching. Now we have left the decision. So here we are just giving a, you can say, an input to a bank agent to make a better decision. Okay, so what many banks did, I'll give you a use case. So what many banks did, they said, Vivek, why don't you do the in such a way that if the system gives a score of face match below 50%, then just block that user. We don't want to proceed ahead with the account opening. Ask that person to come to the bank and get it verified. In case of when it is more than 50%, they said let it then allow an option, give an option to the bank agent to use his intelligence and make it a pass or fail based on his observations. So again, there were multiple case studies here as well. So few banks said like below 50%, just block that user. Don't give an option to continue using an online account opening. Ask him to come to the branch. So that's how it is. So in this case.
Sir, any application like this has been created for an life insurance, because that particular moment of time definitely we want to have an age prediction. So any other application, sir, you can suggest, like a banking system that you have been given over a wonderful information. So any kind of application related to an insurance company, because insurance company definitely need an age prediction. Based on that, they will ask about the medical certificate and other details and all. So can you suggest any other application, sir?
So basically, what happened is if you actually go, so basically, if I talk about insurance, if I talk about banking sector, or if I talk about stockbrokers, so all the three different sectors are governed by different bodies. Like banks have RBI. In this, when I talk about insurance companies, they are being regulated by uh, IRDA. Then we have brokers who are being regulated by the SEBI. So what they have done is they have a set of compliances, or they have a set of regulatory requirements that they have raised, given to those, whether it's insurance organization, or whether it's RBI, or whether it's stockbroker, to use this online medium. So we have to, whatever application that we're developing based on the target, based on the industry segment, it has to be comply with those regulations. So even the system that we developed as of now for the banking, the same system with slight tweaking can be used can be used for by the insurance company as well, while issuing a policy to the customer. In fact, some of the big insurance companies have already started using this kind of applications to issue but what do you say, to issue insurance to the new customers. Similarly, if you have I don't know if you have gone through Zerodha or some other trading platforms, even they are now using this kind of systems to onboard. But yes, obviously there are some different, some changes in the flow or the process as per the regulatory requirements that needs to be modified into the same application. So basically what I'm doing is we are even working on developing or modifying this particular solution for insurance sector as well as for the broker sector, so that those are second and third version that will be launching soon. So understanding, apart from developing an application, understanding the regulatory requirement is one of the critical part if I'm talking about insurance or banking, or if it is stockbrokers.
Thank
So
you, sir.
hope that is fine with you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Yeah. Thanks. So I'll just, any more questions on this particular solution, or I'll move ahead then.
Faculties, if you have any questions, you can also post it in the chat box so that we can review and share the information.
Done. So I'll just stop this presentation and I'll share other screen now.
Sir, regarding the Aadhaar card, the API that you have been integrated, in what way we can approach the, because it's a government sector that we want to, the API that available. So how to approach that particular sector to integrate with the application selection? If there is any formality is there? Or,
Yeah, obviously there are formalities that needs to be done. And the formalities are two, like, there are two things. One is it's very costly, and security and compliance side is very, what you can say, complicated. So there are very few organizations that have this, that can give us those access to those APIs. So because infrastructure that is required for getting access to this, have the, like, government has released a set of UIDAI has released a set of compliance or regulatory requirements to, so as to prevent or safeguard the personal details of this Aadhaar card. First thing. Second thing is, like, you don't get all the details from through those APIs of the government. So government has released a set of particular details that can be used by, consumed by organization like us. And also the use cases, basically, like here we were using it for a banking purpose, so we got an approval to get go ahead. Okay, and this whole data, we as a third party organization are not allowed to store any of these data. So this solution that we has been deployed on the banking premises itself. So data, whatever we are fetching through this particular application, is getting stored on the bank premises itself. So we are just facilitating those transactions, and we are not storing data anywhere.
sir, specifically why asking in the sense, suppose I'm creating an application, already we have that kind of application, but I want to integrate the Aadhaar card API with the application which what already created. So
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it
that.
possible? Is it possible for your concerned can able to support related to an API?
Yeah, yeah, we can. So we can have a talk on that separately. So we can do that.
Okay, okay, sir. So any questions from the audience side actually?
So I think we should move ahead then, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this was like one of the live presentation that I gave. Now talking about, so there is other use case that we have been working. So we have been working on developing chatbots, the bots for various organizations, like for Aditya Birla, we recently developed and give them chatbots. Then we have also for one of the an education academy. So we developed a chatbot for them. Okay. So I'll give you a glimpse. I would love to give a glimpse or an idea to the students about what goes while writing the while writing the algorithms. What is the data that, or what is the different what do you say, the study that a particular that our team does before we go and ahead and develop a particular chatbot. Okay, so this is a use case, an Excel sheet I'll be sharing, which is for which is very much related to the education sector. Just give me a second. So there is an online education platform. Okay, they wanted to have a assistant, online assistant, because earlier for any queries the parents or teachers or anybody had to call that particular organization or the call center and get that data whatever is required. Now they wanted to have a automated chatbot which was able to answer the major of the queries for the students, for the parents, for the new person who is joining that particular online academy. Okay, so before we go ahead and develop a particular procedure, or we develop automate that particular procedure, there is a lot of back-end study or back-end process learning that goes into. So if you see this Excel, so this Excel, what we did is we listed the different use cases that I was talking about. Then once the business use cases gets listed, then accordingly you can develop the different algorithm that can be based. So like here, if you see, so we first classified the different categories. Like I'm new to like education academy, like the different categories of people who might come to my website, that particular academy's website, and have the different question. So one was like I'm new to education academy. I'm second, the person can be using currently he might be a member of that education academy. He can be a school administrator who wants to implement education in my schools. I'm a student. So basically here, if you see, we have prepared a lot of data. And again, we so for example, if I talk about this category, I'm a school administrator or I'm new to education academy, then we created subcategories. How can I get started with education academy, like particular that particular website, online like education portal? What is education academy ready to use math lesson plan? So basically we have prepared a set of data classified into categories, subcategories, along with the answers and what should be the response for that. So basically here, if you see, I'm currently having using education academy. So he has there can be different issues that he might have to. So like he can have my account related issues, which can be how to log in, how to change my password. I have other issues. How can I edit my teacher account? So what we did is, so these are the studies that goes into creating a particular before you create a particular bot. So here, if you see, so this the whole idea was to show you this Excel sheet was basically like the practical business cases that we prepare before we go ahead and start or we develop a particular automation bot. So again, here if you see, create account. So we have list lot of links that we have created. Like if somebody has wants to manually create account, I want to create my teacher account. So what we did is we create there is a keyword that is created, and we are able to the whole data to pursue how do I manually create an account. So the whole data is actually written and loaded into this particular link. And when a keyword, we what we do is using NLP, we call multiple keywords and we're able to direct the particular student query to actual data on the website. So what here happened is we were able to reduce the calls, like the the particular education academy, they were able to, if they were say 100 calls in a day, we were able to reduce by almost say 65%. Okay, so 65% time was saved through these chatbots. So chatbots had the answers for most of the general problems that used to general. So if you see this list of queries that we have worked out with them, so it's a huge data. So lot of thing before you actually go and develop such kind of algorithm. So data is something which is very important. So here if you can see there are 531 lines of keywords or 531 keywords that we have identified, and there are multiple links that we assigned against these keywords. So this gives you an idea basically how before going ahead with the development, how you actually need to identify the case study, how you need to plan for the different cases or different algorithms that you'll be building into that particular system. Okay, and even before we move ahead or we go ahead, we also, what we initially did is we based on the call center data that we had, we identified like what are the major like the support call center is getting, what are the major number of calls that they get for. So here if you see, so major of the calls I can see for account related, there were the frequency was around 9 calls per day. Password related was around 45 calls per day. Then we had classes related questions, there were 22. So similarly, what we initially started with is we first understand like what is the biggest problem statement that particular organization is facing. Then based on that, then we define the keywords, and then we define which is the better, which is the process that we should actually decide or design first, so the calls are reduced or the human intervention is reduced in this case. So basically this sharing this excel was, the idea was to give you a glimpse on how the system generally, how we start the development for any platform. Like earlier I showed you a live demo of a particular platform. Now here I showed you some data or details how the business team or how the our analysis team works before they go ahead and develop a particular bot or automated bots. Okay, so this gives you much glimpse on the study that you have to do related to that particular use case before you actually start the development. So hope I have been able to give you a clear idea or at least some idea on the initial part, like before you the business the requirement gathering stage or before the prior development stage of this automation or any kind of process automation. So any questions? I'll be answering it. So this was on the side of the second use case that we have been working on. I'll share the screen again. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, and again, before going ahead with those screens, I've got some two more use cases that we actually worked on for you, just to take you through the case study there. So there was you like all we all have heard about Ghadi detergent. So they wanted a WhatsApp chatbot, which automated chatbot using WhatsApp. So again, there we have studied with them like different process. So first we created a tree diagram, like what are the different options that the customer generally or the retailer. So this was for retailer, like I'm a retailer, I'm ordering something from Ghadi organization or a Ghadi manufacturer for my retail. So we first identified like what are the generally queries that a retailer has when they places an order, or when they order a bulk, when do they do a bulk order from from Ghadi. So based on that, we identified like there are around 5 different general queries that they have, like product portfolio. So every retailer wants to understand what are the different products that is being offered by Ghadi detergents. Okay, then they want to understand the pricing. They wanted to understand if there is any scheme going on that particular product, because the schemes are actually required for the what you can say the savings that is there on the product. Then they also want to understand the nearby distributors. they also want to place an order through this app. So what this did is the retailer can actually have an access to these 5 different topics through his WhatsApp itself, instead of going to a particular platform ordering something. So this is how we studied, and then we prepared the different flows. So different flows were prepared, like case one. Okay, in case one, what we did is, if you see here in the bracket here, this case was designed for, if when on chatbot on a WhatsApp, the retailers or a customer has given no input, so my flow should be directed in such a way that I should be able to answer his general queries. Okay, so there were different flows that we first prepared, like what can the different permutation combination that can happen. Then once that particular flow was developed, so what can be the probable answers of my from my end. So they wanted this to be in, because they were working on this bot for the North Indian retailers, so they wanted that language to be in Hindi. So we prepared the list of different steps that we had that they wanted. So here, if you see, uh, this gives them the list of brands that the Ghadi offers, like Ghadi detergent powder, detergent cake, machine wash, other things. Second, they wanted to know the this Utpadi Mul. So basically, this is the pricing scheme offer. So this, he can just click on those numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he is able to get the what do you say? The agent, the retailer is able to get the data. So basically, this whole thing is actually worked out by the business team before we go and develop a particular automation for a particular process or for a particular bot. Okay, so here, if you can see, I'm just scrolling down and moving fast because we are already much ahead of the time. So this is just giving you understanding of the actual study that you generally do before you move ahead with the development of any particular automation framework. Okay, so again, this gives you an idea basically what we have done for those chatbots. So this was on the flow side, like prior understanding before you start the development of any automation. You need to actually spend a lot of time on understanding the use cases, so that the results that are generated is 100%, or actually it has to be 100% accurate, until unless obviously there is a limitations. Okay, so these are the few use cases that we have been continuously working in past few years. Okay, like past 2.5 years with the organizations, and those are all MNCs that we are working with. So that is on the use cases side. Now talking about theoretical purpose, so artificial intelligence, now I don't need to give you an idea or give you a definition of artificial intelligence, but yes, sometimes people would like to give you one point here, like people sometimes mix up artificial intelligence and machine learning, but both are machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, where like artificial intelligence something is already, like you all know now, machine learning is a subset or an application of artificial intelligence, where the system has an capability to automatically learn and improve, right? Basically, from my experience, like as a human being, what we generally do is we evolve based on our learning, we based on experience that we have. So having an application that can learn from itself and improve itself is actually an art machine learning. So in our earlier use case that I gave for that bank account opening, so the PAN card and even the Aadhaar card, so there the machine learning is going on continuously, like this with the new sets of data coming in. If what happens is, so what initially I started with, I feed it say 100 different kinds of PAN card to the system. Now PAN card is aware that these are 100 system 100, if PAN card gets an input which is matching to those 100, it will give you the right input. Now what happens in say a particular case, the a machine is not able to, or my platform is not able to match the data, then what it will do is it will create a new data. It will learn itself that this is a new case that is being come, and will read it into the system. When it happens for the first time, it might not give you the accurate result, but yes, a second time when some such kind of data comes in, it will give you a better results or more accurate results. So machine learning is actually an subset of artificial intelligence, not an artificial intelligence. Okay, now talking about the use cases. So obviously with artificial intelligence, what has happened is human efforts have been reduced. Okay, and obviously this has affected the job opportunities for many people. So this, I'm just giving you a glimpse of how rapidly artificial intelligence is evolving in different sectors. So in manufacturing, so Hyundai, what they have done is, in the Chennai plant, they are having around 580 robots which are working, and Maruti has in fact deployed around 5,000 robots for manufacturing for manufacturing of their automobiles. Okay, so you can imagine the kind of replacement this AI has done, or the bots has done for to humans. Now, talking about, there is another application where an Apple supplier, Foxconn, they replace around 60,000 factory workers with robots. This is based out of China. So Foxconn is a company based out of China, which is a supplier for Apple. Now, what Foxconn did is they replaced around 60,000 factory workers with robots. So you can imagine the kind of this replacement of these many workers has actually impacted two things. One is it has improved the production. It has improved the, like, reduce the time to actually do a particular operation. And third, and the most important thing is, it has reduced the cost drastically. Like any automation that is there in the industry right now has reduced the cost for that particular organization drastically. Okay, and obviously, like, the human resource related issues have been is like nullified using these automations. Okay, now even like this, I think we all are aware of this. Like Amazon are also, yeah, Amazon is using robots for their logistic and warehousing purposes, right? So they have deployed more than 2 lakh mobile robots inside their warehouse network. Okay, and so there are different types. They are using fully automated, and also like what do you say, an human assisted robot that is being used to handle the warehousing and logistic matters for them on day-to-day basis. Like, because imagine Amazon is handling already a lot of what do you say, orders on daily basis across the globe. So now deploying 2 lakh mobile robots is a huge task, but now this is a reality that we are facing, and going down the lane it might happen that a lot of hybrid robots and other robots will be replacing those remaining human resource as well. This is again one of a very interesting usage that has come in recent time. So Nightscope security robots. So Nightscope is a company which has started developing a security robots. Okay, so they are actually used to guard parking lots. They used to guard a mall patrol. So for patrolling of malls. So basically, and as if you see, you just go on the link and you can see that Uber has already started deploying these Nightscope security robots for their parking lots. Okay, which is in parking and as well as the in the malls. So now slowly and steadily the security, the bots or AI assisted bots have been also coming on the security angle as well. Okay, and the time will be like, it's not very far away when we'll have security bots operating at almost all the big enterprises, at least buildings, for security purpose. So this is more on the modern day applications, the where artificial intelligence is being used. Now, just to give you a glimpse, like how like generally the two approaches that we use while on any AI based algorithms or AI based softwares. Okay, so there are two things. One is logic and rule based, and second is machine learning. So when I talk about logic and rule based, I'll not take you through the technicals, but yes, I'll now give you or compare this particular. So when I talk about logic or rule based, so this approach was used by us while we were developing the bots for that academy, the case study that I showed you earlier, the this education academy. So there we use this logic and rule base, where we created 1,000 of rules and logics into the database, and based on those rules and database, based on those rules, my bot was able to give an answer automatically, as acting as if there's a human present in the backend and answering a question. So that was more of a logic and rule based. Now, when I talk about machine learning, so machine learning we have used in the earlier application, the banking application that we developed, where we are where the system is able to read the data and give you exact accurate answers from the PAN card and Aadhaar cards. Okay, so that is, and also like face match. So there we are using machine learning, because with machine learning the probability of giving you the accurate results is going on increasing on daily basis. So that is on the two major techniques that people generally use for that any system AI based system uses. And if I talk about a live case, so Google Translation, I think all of us have gone through that. Netflix. So if you browse something, or if you have been using Netflix or basically any other OT platforms, you'll see that when you watch a particular movie, what Netflix does is it starts giving you a recommendation that based on your searches or based on your earlier history, it gives you an option that these are the next set of movies that actually suits to your likes, and you can watch these. So those recommendations are coming from machine learning. So machine learning is continuously, so the system is continuously learning your whatever your the way you're interacting with that particular application, and giving you recommendation. And again, the self-driving cars, those are again a classic example of AI case study, where machine learning or pattern based approach is being used for giving you a better accurate results. Now I'll also take again a case of email spam filter. Now earlier, what happened around say 5 or 6 years back, if you like, I think professors have been using, if you have gone through your Gmail account, what happens is you see a lot of spam emails, which is not actually, it can be offer emails and other thing, can be, it is populated in your email box itself, the inbox. And it was really difficult for us to find out the actual proper mails, or the mails that we actually want to see, because the spam, so if there is one proper mail, there are 100 of spam emails. Now if you see, or if you open your email or a Gmail box, you can see there are three categories, and automatically, so one is your inbox, second is spam, and third is social media. So what now this how mailbox is functioning is, they're able to classify the mails initially itself without you giving an input, and put those mails in those particular categories. So your most important mails are remains in your inbox, while other mails are diverted to the spam and social media folders without, so that will help without your intervention. So this is a classic case of artificial intelligence being used in our day-to-day life. Okay, so how it generally started was, so this case study was built. So earlier the system identified, so there is, I'll give you a case study, like you get a lot of mails on your Gmail which says like earn cash by doing this, earn cash by doing XYZ activity. So initially what we did is, my system in the initial period, it detect earlier assume that there is no machine learning or there is no automation there in an email. So what happened to my in my inbox, I got a lot of mails. Now what I did is, as a human being, if I see something like earn with the subject line earn cash, okay, so I used to mark it as spam, and that used to go into the spam folder. So now system with machine learning and AI based systems coming in, it started recognizing, okay, so that particular keyword, that earn cash, so it started recognizing those keywords and said, okay, if there is a earn cash, so 10% of this emails are spam. And it identified two things. One is the emails, there's a probability that 10% is as spam, but 0% is wanted emails. Okay, so what system did is, system detects the pattern in email about the likely marker of spam. So it first has to identify the keywords, and it stores that keywords. Okay, earn cash is a keyword which can be a representation for a spam email. Okay, so initially it will learn. Now it detected a pattern emails with the it now it is detecting the patterns, like all the emails with uncached is more likely to be emails a spam email. Now can use suggest to make automated decision about future emails. So based on this decision, if any future email is coming with subject line uncached, it will automatically move into system. Now the most important your part was to identify the probability, because it might also happen that something important with the heading of spam, say free, what you say, we the keyword was uncached, so there might be probably that some important mail has come with this particular keyword. Okay, so now machine learning, what it did is, based on continuous data that is goes in storing, now it is able to reduce the probability of giving a wrong output. Okay, the more the data comes in, and the more we move the this particular keyword, the emails with this particular keyword to spam folder, the more the probability of a system to give you a error reduces. So the use the like the size of the data has to be huge to give you a perfect or accurate results. Now basically if you see now the recent Gmails, you will see automatically measure of the, so there is almost 99% accuracy that these emails have to actually categorize your incoming emails as whether it's spam or whether it's from social media or whether it's from your some important mails. Okay, so identification improves with the number as the number the data set increases. Algorithm improves in performance in auto identifying spam, is able to examine more data and find additional identification. Algorithm is learning over time from additional examples. So this is what we actually did explain to you right now. So email spam filter is one of the classic examples of machine learning. Okay, now the next part, there's one small use case as well where we are not actually using the intelligence, but it is the system is giving us intelligent results. Okay, so if I talk about Google, so Google, if so Google gives you an option. So for example, here I've typed where is the post office. Now I want to see it in different languages how it is. Okay, it can I want to see it in Spanish, or if I want to see it in French, I have to just simply click and give the Google gives me data. Okay, this thing in English is written in this or read as something like this in Spanish, and this thing in French. Okay, now what your the Google did is, here we have not used something there is no, what do you say, no actual artificial, but there is an artificial results which is getting automated generated by using statistical correlation. So what earlier happened is Google has a lot of data stored where it might have earlier or analyzed or translated documents. Okay, so earlier, say for example, there is an upload of of documents in two different languages. So what they have done is using the cognitive skills, it has a huge set of database of different what a particular word stands for in different languages. So here what it is doing is it is using those cognitive skills to translate. Okay, and so here what Google does is people use advanced in human being, what we do is we use our cognitive skills to translate, because but yes, obviously we should be aware or we should have learned that particular language, whether it's French or whether it's Spanish. But in case of Google, Google learns it on basis of the input that we as a human person, we as a person has given to the Google. So Google does a statistical correlations by analyzing previously translated documents, okay, using into the system. Now using this, now once those documents are translated, it stores all those data as a proxy point. So what when I say proxy points, you can also call as a reference points. So for like this say particular word where, it stores the data for where is the English language, it stores the data or it has a data stored for the same word in different other languages, and it is using that as a proxy. So going down the lane, if I'm when you're clicking just where is post office and putting on Spanish, so what it does is it searches the list of those databases which was stored into the system, and it gives you the meaning, or it gives you. So here in this case, it's not actually the AI which is working, but it is, there are different it's using statistical machine translation actually for getting the data outside. Okay, now so if I talk about the principle that it works is, first it detects the patterns. Second, so detecting pattern is again common in both machine learning as well as in this case where there is no actual machine learning, but still they're using proxy principle. The patterns are detected, those patterns are stored as proxies or a reference point, and then it does the underlying cognitive task of basically understanding or converting that, or giving you the results based on the inputs that a customer asks for. So these are the two cases that that generally we see in our day-to-day life. Okay, uh, now talking about different systems, okay, that has been come up. So there are also hybrid use case systems. So there are two hybrid. One is machine learning and rule based. So basically, machine learning we already learned, rule based we have already learned. Like those are the two majors. So now the self-driving cars. Okay, if I give a classic example of self-driving cars, so it is not just based on machine learning, but they are also using rule-based algorithms. So whether if there is something already predefined, so that can be fed into the rule-based hybrids, rule-based model, and if there is something that is to be developed on day-to-day basis, so there they're using machine learning. So there it's a hybrid model where the system uses both machine learning as well as a rule based. Going down a step ahead, this hybrid version is again matched with human intelligence. Okay, like we, when we were talking about face match, so what we did is we have used an AI hybrid, but again we have we are actually require a human intelligence there to decide whether this match is face match is exactly a match or not. So in hybrid, in human intelligence AI hybrid, what happens is the systems gives you information to support the human for making decisions. This is one of the critical point that we take up when we're when human intelligence is involved along with the hybrids. Okay, so these are the two use cases that we have been building. Now, this I have already taken you through this, where we talked about the digital customer onboarding platform, where we have already went through OCR, face recognition, and the technologies that we have developed. Now talking about like I'll just take some more time to take you on how we are using artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Okay, so basically information security or cybersecurity that we're talking about. So here now, earlier there were firewalls, multiple different components that were used for blocking unintended request or hacker request that is coming to my system. Now what happened is, and with the hacking increasing heavily in day to day, and with the in COVID situation, the attacks on the organizations have increased like anything. So artificial intelligence was again like organization have started using artificial or AI and machine learning to identify if a particular request that is coming to them from an outside source, whether it's a genuine or whether it's a non-genuine request. Okay, so there are different angles to it. Like one, they have been applied, AI has been used for network threat analysis. Basically I'm analyzing my whole network, the data that is flowing through the network, using artificial intelligence to identify and categorize those in requests, whether it is actually a threat or whether it's not a threat, it's a genuine request that is coming in. And based on those classification, the system or the algorithms will allow a request to flow in, or it will block the request at the firewall level or at the perimeter of your organization's network. Then malware detection. So earlier what used to happen was any malwares that is coming in the system, traditionally the blocking of those malware detection was done using a signature based system. So basically the blocking was for already identified malwares. Okay, and if there is a new malware that is coming in, it was really difficult to get recognized. But now with AI based and machine learning system coming in, there are tools that is able to predict if it's a new malware, or if it is an existing malware, or with an already established signature database, then there is not an issue. But if it's a new with the new tools, AI based and machine learning tools that have come in, we can even detect even if it is a new kind of malware that is coming into my system, and it can be actually stop from infecting my system. Okay, so here they have been using machine learning again and artificial intelligence for identifying the new malwares. Okay, third is security analyst augmentation. So here what we are doing is the routine activities that a security person or a cyber security personnel does on day-to-day basis. So what we did is a lot of activities are done on a repetition manner. Okay, which is a fixed set of process that needs to be followed. So here automation was done, or the human activities has been automated using artificial AI based products or AI based platform, and has been like they have been continuously being done by the bots or by AI based workers. So but yes, obviously this is being done for the process which is already set and which is very clearly defined, uh, and which is repetitive actually speaking. So security analyst augmentation is again a third area where this has been we have been using AI based threat mitigation. Now this is one very you can say a classic and advanced or implementation of AI. So here what this platform or the tool does is it continuously monitors all the requests that is coming in from an outside network to my network. Okay, the incoming as well as outgoing. The whole thing is analyzed on the based on the algorithms or the security algorithms that are placed in the system. Okay, and it also gives you a weak points of any particular organization. So I can run that system and find if there is any weak point available into my organization system. Now the weak points can be some patching might not be done. Okay, or there might be some known vulnerabilities that have been that is present in the application, and which is still present in the application. It has not been sorted out by the developer, and basically the different loopholes that are present. It can be through phishing or other thing. Those loopholes, there are tools or AI based tools that will be able to detect those particular loopholes. But yes, I can add one point here, is it is still in a very preliminary phase. Still has to go a long way, because the way organizations are using artificial intelligence to thought any kind of security attack. Similarly, the hackers have now advanced to a stage where even the hackers are using artificial intelligence to uh, attack a particular organization on regular basis. So now what they have done is, even hackers have started developing hacker bots, which on continuous basis keeps on pinging or testing, checking a particular organization network for any loopholes. And if those loopholes are find out, the bot will release the malware or that system malware into the enterprise system using its already defined algorithm. So basically now, earlier it was just a human being or human hacker who used to interfere with the systems, or who used to infect a system or attack a system. Now even they have advanced in such a manner where they have started using hacker bots, to continuously penetrate your environment. So artificial intelligence is now actually and going down the lane is playing a big role for a security for any organ, and going down the lane it is going to evolve at a very fast pace. So this is on the practical use cases that we have been working in, both uh, the process automation as well as cyber security. Now this is again a very next few slides. I have just two slides to complete the presentation. But here we have again there is pros and cons. Okay, so one thing is, as I said, AI is enhancing humans, because humans plus computers combined, the output will be much greater than what a humans alone can do or a computers alone can do. So obviously artificial intelligence, AI, has involved or enhanced human lives, but there are some limitations. Okay, uh, so I have identified, say, around 4 to 5 limitations that we have. So one is access to data. Now, when I talk about access to data, so what basically AI does is, AI actually needs, for predicting or decision making models, it needs to be trained. Actually, this application or system needs to be trained properly. And for training a particular system, you need huge amount of data. Okay, so now data, when I say we need a huge amount of data, we the a whole lot of data in today's era is are available with very few large MNCs. Okay, be it Google, be it Microsoft, be it Reliance, you name a big organ, they have a huge set of data which is available to them itself, and not to. So we Audix or Finio is a new organization. We are just 3 years old. We don't have access to such a huge database that these organizations have. For example, if I talk about Geo has the since Geo manages a lot of it's into telecom, so it has the huge database of our Aadhaar cards. Even they have an database of our fingerprints. Okay, that we have given while accessing or while collecting the SIM cards. So these companies are sitting on a pile of data, and which we don't have. And like when these companies started using getting those data, so that time the regulations or compliance were not that heavy, and they have got huge set of data with them. As compared to now, as an organization, I can't store data or other details of any customer into my system without properly following a compliance of government. So if I talk about data, so the new organizations are having very little access, while the old traditional organizations or big MNCs have huge set of data. Now this set of data, since as we say, like data is oil, so going down the line, what will happen is this has created a bias actually. Okay, where the companies with use data, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, these giants have so much of data that they can play around with this data. And means you can just imagine the kind of things that can be done using the data that they have. So access to data, there has to be something that has to come in for this to give an access for the data to even the smaller enterprise. Like earlier, this even sir was asking, Vivek, I need Aadhaar data, from where I can get it? Is there an option to get the data? So basically, access to data is one of the biggest limitation that we have. One thing. Second is bias. Okay. Uh, Obviously, we can't say like the results or the accuracy that any particular artificial intelligence give is totally, or it's totally 100% accurate, and or it's not biased, because when I'm making a particular decision, so there has to be also, there can be a different context to while making a particular decision, which still cannot, which still AI is lacking. So the context or the social context that can be given to while making a particular decision is still not as equivalent to what a human being does. So bias is still something which is a limitation on on the technology side, I can say, for artificial intelligence. Third point is the cost. So mining, storing, analyzing data has is very costly, both in terms of as energy as well as hardware usage. Next is adversarial attacks. So for example, I will give you here the cases we can talk about self-driving cars. Okay, so a self-driving car is already fitted, say, with a set of rules that you have to take when you see this kind of, when the car sees this kind of signal, it has to take left. Now, for example, but see, a human being just replaces that signal or replaces that particular symbol on the road by some other signal, and my system is the self-driving cars are not defined, are not tuned, or they are not learned enough to identify that particular thing. So what it will do, it will follow that particular symbol, and it will end up in a wrong lane, or and it will result in a crash. So still there is because AI is there, but still AI is not that evolved that to the capacity that human brains have evolved. So deviation, so basically, if I this is nothing but a deviation from a traditional flow. So a flow was designed, a flow was fed into the system's memory, that this is the flow that you have to follow. Now say here what happened was a flow was modified unnaturally by an individual, and it resulted in distraction, or it resulted in diverting the particular vehicle or the car, and it ended up in long run a wrong lane, and it crashed. So that is again one of the attacks, adversarial attacks. So here it was definitely like deliberately done by a human being, and the machine artificial intelligence was not able to analyze it properly, and this resulted in a car crash. Now, third point is again, uh, fifth point we're talking about is no consensus on safety, ethics, and privacy. These is there's still, as I said, like there's a lot of done work to be done, because limits to which we use AI or artificial intelligence still not defined. Okay, so there has to be still some. There is no law which defines the limitations for using an artificial intelligence in human lives. Okay, so that has to be slowly and steadily, I think the government agencies have to act upon those to avoid any kind of adversary effects that can happen in the long run. Okay, again, if I talk from a other perspective, so there is a one more perspective which I can add to this particular thing is, if robots can do exactly what humans being can do, so and they become equal to humans, okay, then do they deserve human rights? So basically, how do we design these robots rights? Okay, what are their rights and what are not their rights? Okay, so these are few questions which still needs to be answered. Like I'll give you, you can just Google out and find out what happened. Is Google was recently, there was a news where Google said that the system, the AI system, had developed its own language. Okay, to interact with each other. So this is again a cause of concern, because if they're able to, if these machines are able to talk to each other in a language which we don't understand, because they are able to understand the language that we are talking, or the way language that humans are using, and if they are able to, through machine learning, if they develop their own language, and they use that language to interact with each other, for which the human beings don't have knowledge, so that is going to be actually a reason of a big concern, or it is a big concern for us in the for using artificial intelligence going down the lane for the mankind. So these are some of the biggest limitations that we have on the AI that we have using AI technology. Now I leave this presentation, end this presentation with a very good question to all of you. uh, Whether artificial intelligence is a boon or curse. Now, if you read the statement that we have, okay, so this famous scientist said the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of human race. It would take off on its own and redefine itself at an ever increasing rate. Humans who were limited by slow biological evolution could not compete and would be superseded. So, this is a classic, and this is not just one, but there are many such predictions that has been given by many big personalities. So the question still remains, is AI a boon or curse? I leave it up to you, and would love to hear your inputs on whether you, what you think, whether it's a boon or whether it's a curse. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks all.
Thank you, Professor Vivek Tiwari, for the wonderful presentation. And we get a good comments from the faculty side that it is an eyes opening session towards the industry needs. And we got a good exposure about the artificial intelligence, sir. And we got an
Thank you, sir.
good information related to an industrial needs. And some people has given, now only we know about what actually the artificial intelligence, the real meaning for the artificial intelligence from the beautiful demo that you have been given. So on behalf of the faculty, on behalf of the institution, on behalf of the Institution Innovation Council and Computer Society of India, and on all aspects, I thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation, which give you the a clean idea about an artificial intelligence. What is the expectation related to an artificial intelligence? What is the present situation that the AI as well as the machine learning is being arriving over it? And what way the industrial needs has been related to different kinds of presentations that you given over, in what way that there is an remedies given for an artificial intelligence, how the workers are being identified, how the robots is being identified with the name of artificial intelligence, and the demo that you given related to the banking system that is being liked by everyone, which know about how the future evaluation should be arrived over in the thing actually. And maybe that is also to be taken to an insurance company also, I think so. So thanks
Yeah,
for your wonderful presentation, sir. And some faculties has been requested to share the presentation that you have been make it on today. So if it possible, you can share the presentation to our mail ID so that I can give it to all the faculties, so that
sure,
that will
sir.
be helpful you, sir. And
Sure, sir.
thanks for Dr. Suresh sir to take the wonderful young and dynamic person, sir. So once if you have an opportunity after this pandemic, you can visit Tiruvannamalai. It's a place of an holy temple of an Lord Shiva. So we will take
Wow.
you there. And thank you, sir. Thank you for your
Yes,
wonderful
it's my
and
pleasure, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, for your support and for inviting me. It was a learning for me also. For it's a daily learning for us when we are working in the organization as an entrepreneur. Uh, thanks a lot.
sir, and my personal thanks that you already committed. I know about the personal things that you made it before when we have make it in the starting of the May actually. But after that, everything has been get back. Now we are ready to take any kind of an activities. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful support for this particular faculty development program, and we extend your warm support in future also, sir. Thank you on
Thanks a
behalf
lot,
of
sir.
the
It's my
faculty.
pleasure, sir. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
sir.
sir. Any queries from the faculty side? faculties have been giving the feedback through the chat link that very informative session, sir. Thank you. Very valuable sessions and wonderful presentation by
Thank
our
you, sir.
guest.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your useful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thanks.
for your wonderful spending your valuable time with us, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So thanks for your wonderful presentation, sir. And I request all the faculties to be joined by tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the same time for the second session of an recent advancement in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Thank you.